But on the other hand, now the media landscape is so saturated, you could stop what you're doing right now and spend the rest of your life solely consuming. Like put an IV in you, sleep the minimum amount of hours per day to stay conscious and spend the rest of the time watching stuff, and you still wouldn't even get remotely close to watching all the stuff that is deemed worthy of your time. Anyways, are you guys familiar with this? Let me know if you're familiar with this. With Scorsese being like the most critical and like the most savage, critic of modern day media. Like Scorsese famously like roasted the Marvel franchise and said that it's like total ass and like not real cinema. And, Scorsese, of all critics, I think Scorsese has at least a leg to stand on, being a person who makes movies, right? But I don't know. I think his critique of media is kind of interesting, and this is just a excerpt from what he said, but I want to read to you guys something that he recently published, and it refers to content, which is, always very relevant here on the Affable Chat live stream. What was that? I like that picture collection of him. Yeah, it's pretty good. But so here we go. This is just an excerpt of it, of course. Flash forward to the present day as the art of cinema is being systematically devalued, sidelined, demeaned, and reduced to its lowest common denominator, content. As recently as 15 years ago, the term content was heard only when people were discussing the cinema on a serious level, and it was contrasted with and measured against form. Then, gradually, it was used more and more by the people who took over media companies, most of whom knew nothing about the history of the art form or even cared enough to think that they should. Content became a business term for all moving images. A David Lean movie, a cat video, a Super Bowl commercial, a superhero sequel, a live streamer epically reacting to content. It was linked, of course. One of my favorite YouTubers does a video on this, Is Marvel Cinema, based on this. Yeah. It was a big talking point. I mean, this just came out today, and Scorsese's been trending all day. People pay attention to what he's saying, partially because he's a respected director, but I also feel like because what he's saying is very counterculture, especially when it's consumed through the internet. This is the end of this quote, and then we'll talk about it. It is all connected, not to the theatrical experience, but to home viewing on the streaming platforms that have come to overtake the movie-going experience, just as Amazon overtook physical stores. On the one hand, this has been good for filmmakers, myself included. On the other hand, it has created a situation in which everything is presented to the viewer on a level playing field, which sounds democratic, but isn't. If further viewing is suggested by algorithms based on what you've already seen, the suggestions are based only on subject matter or genre. Then what does that do to the art of cinema? And there's actually, this is just a portion of the article. There's more to it if you're interested. But I think this is an interesting thing to look at because I've always felt like I was born in the exact right time period. I was born too late to explore the world, born too early to explore the cosmos, born just in time to explore the media revolution, where suddenly you don't have to be some rich, movie studio owner to make something that can be consumed by the masses. Like it's and while I do look at that mostly in a positive light, where I say the playing field has been leveled, more people than ever have access to creating things that are interesting and good. But on the other hand, now the media landscape is so saturated, you could stop what you're doing right now and spend the rest of your life solely consuming. Like put an IV in you, sleep the minimum amount of hours per day to stay conscious and spend the rest of the time watching stuff, and you still wouldn't even get remotely close to watching all the stuff that is deemed worthy of your time. Is deemed like, watch this before you die. You can't do it. There was already a bunch of stuff that was created that's amazing before you were even born, And now it's coming out at a clip that you can't even comprehend. And that kind of feels like a problem to me in some ways. Like, for one, media consumption is so segmented. Or segmented, I think that's probably accurate, but it's granular. I watch and listen to exactly what I want to watch and listen to, regardless, most of the time, of who else is doing that. So I don't care about what show that you just watched some mini series on Hulu or you watch some documentary on Netflix. There's so much. Oh, another sub. 3 subs in one night. Thank you so much, Anthony, the Fortress of Doom, plus Ultra. But yeah, there's so much to consume. It sometimes feels like it's hard to share that experience with anybody else. And also, you have to feel, and this is something he expands on in the larger article. I can link that to you guys if you want. But one of the things he talks about in like the full article is like the responsibility to share good media with people who don't know about it. This is the article here from IndieWire, which is actually citing another article he did for some paywall thing. So, no hats. I don't think I made that a promise. That was like a. I'm also wearing a headband. That's just your hat. Spoiler alert. But one of the things they talk about is the responsibility to share good content with other people. And he talks about how there's movies that should be consumed not because of the profitability of them, but because they are important cultural landmarks. And he doesn't explicitly say this, but he kind of implies that paywalls should not necessarily stop people. You know, we shouldn't be encouraging this media consumption landscape where it's about what you can access. It should be more about, making sure people have access to the best stuff. It's one of the frustrating things about doing a movie podcast because we watch such great movies and then I'm like, it's not even on any of the streaming services. You're going to have to rent it for $4. And then that stops so many people. And why wouldn't it? Because there is so much free stuff for you to watch. But it's, there's plenty of other good stuff. I mean, again, I don't think that's going to solve anything. You could make all the indie classics free forever, and still there'd be too much of them to watch. So you can't really. This isn't a problem you can really solve all the way. But I think it is interesting to see Scorsese make such a salient point, especially because he could easily come across as just a straight up boomer and be like, TikTok bad, film good, TikTok bad. But that's not what he's saying here. Although I do think it's interesting the way he's using the word content, because were people really calling movies content before? I think he's kind of confusing the use, where it's like, what is the content of this film versus this film is content, right? Unless he's just really messing it up and he's like, I'm content with this film. But I don't think so. I think he's really just saying, like, before it used to be the content of your film, and now everything is considered content. I just think that the word has changed. We didn't have to, worry about content creators before because you weren't a content creator. You were a musician, or you were a radio host, or a TV personality or actor, right? Nobody was doing it the way we are now, where it's like, yeah, I single-handedly made this shit because we have the technology and that's where we're at with this media revolution. We don't have to just watch a movie that the studio put out. My friend made this on his phone. You know that people are skipping the ads in the theater for only content? Can you imagine if people were skipping the ads during maybe that's a thing. Holy shit, Anthony, did you just save the movie industry? What if that's what they start doing? AMC is like, come back to the theaters. No more ads. And people like, oh, shit, rushing back in. That could be the way to do it. Only content. The most positive thing, I don't know why my background keeps changing. But I don't know why. No. That used to be a thing that I kind of liked because if you showed up late, you usually didn't miss anything. But at the same time, ads usually made the movie watching experience like 30 minutes longer for no reason other than to watch ads. So, but yeah, that's what Scorsese has to say. What if people clapped for the ads too? They would on their first time back. I mean, the only time I'm trying to remember if I actually clapped. I probably did. When I saw the episode 7 of Star Wars. That was, I think, the only time I've ever clapped in a movie. And it was when the when the Star Wars logo popped up and the everybody went wild. That, I think, was the only time I've ever like hooted and hollered for my movies. But anyways, what I'm getting at here is, wait, what if Tony Stark snapped away the ads and they all turned to dust? Ooh. That would be an amazing way for him to if you walked into a movie, it's not even a Marvel movie, and he just, and then everything goes to dust. You clapped cringe? Dude, it is cringe. Sometimes I'm cringe. I don't know how we hold people to this standard where it's like, oh, you were cringe? Dude. Sometimes you got to be cringe. And especially with Star Wars, because I was so hopeful that it was going to be good, and then the entire thing ended up being kind of cringe. Okay, wait, the ending comeback scene was wild. Somebody literally praised the Lord when Black Panther came back. Oh, you drink water? Cringe. Oh, good. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my camera. My camera's having a weird, wacky day. But anyways, in that article that I linked to you guys, there's a thing where Scorsese says it's important that we share good cinema with each other, and it's up to us. We can't just trust the algorithms to program everything we watch. And I think it's so true. I think it's so true, which is why I can, cringe? That's cringe. So, time to plug my podcast. Time to refer you guys to some responsible movie viewing experiences. I actually wasn't able to plug the most recent episode last week because we didn't release it till Wednesday. Usually we like to drop the podcast on like Monday, early in the week, so you have something to listen to if you're working. But Die Hard 2 is what we did 2 weeks ago. So this episode's been out for a week. You may have already listened to it. But Joey and I are on a mission to watch all the Die Hard movies, and Die Hard 2 is very similar to Die Hard 1. Any Die Hard fans in the audience right now? I heard so much about Die Hard before I had seen it, and then I saw it, and I was like, okay. But it's like a huge cultural touchstone for a lot of people. And the fact, like now when I'm interested, now that I know who John McClane is, I'm interested to see how he goes from being John McClane to being what he is now, at least in like the way I perceive him through the ads for the newest Die Hard movie, where he's just like truly a super soldier. And you start to see that transition happen a little bit in Die Hard 2, but Die Hard 2 is still very similar to Die Hard 1, where he tries to play, and this is, Wesley is dropping John McClane's catchphrase in the chat. You might recognize it. It's, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. That's his line, and that's not how he says it, but that's the words he says. And the reason he does that is because he's supposed to be the next iteration of the American cowboy. He's supposed to be a gunslinging, reluctant hero, okay? And when I was a kid, I had only seen Live Free or Die Hard, no knowledge of the other movies. I just watched Die Hard for the first time this Christmas. Holy shit, I also just watched Die Hard for the first time this Christmas. He says it with a rugged American everyman's accent. It's so true. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Like, but he represents that well in Die Hard. I'll give him that. He does the, I'm a New York cop, you idiot, which is an Arnold accent. But he's supposed to be this normal guy, and the whole point of Die Hard is when all the, like, they criticize two things majorly, like bureaucracy and like the quote unquote people in charge are always like incompetent and stupid and messing things up, and only the cops, like the lowest level cops, which is John McClane and Carl Winslow is the cop in the first one. He's a LA cop. and John's a New York cop, so he flies across the country to see his wife, and he gets stuck in the situation where he ends up being the only one who can solve the problem. And he does it in a way that's not, it ends up being one-man army kind of, but he's so reluctant to do that, and he's always scared that he's going to die. Like, he treats it very realistically. Die Hard 2 takes a step away from that towards the area of super soldier, and then I don't know where it goes from there, but I'm pretty sure it only accelerates from there. So anyways, I think Joey has a really good commentary on that in this Die Hard 2. As you can see him doing his best airplane interpretation. Look at him. Oh, jeez. That's a Workaholics references the vent crawl McClane. Yes. And actually, that's another thing they bring up. It's actually pretty good that as far as like the stunts go, they're pretty iconic. What's his name? Bruce Willis actually injured his ear because of an explosion that he did for Die Hard 1, which is, he said his hearing was never the same again, so that's pretty hardcore. Hey, man, why are you doing this, Carl Winslow? Because I shot a kid, John. Oh, yeah, that's another thing, too, that we talk about in the first one. We've already done the podcast episode on Die Hard 1, excuse me, and yeah, the way that they justify, I'm not going to say justify, but the shooting a kid thing references just, you got to see it to understand it. The 99 references with Die Hard are so good. The 99, wait, what is that? Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Okay, yeah. That would be a good, they're in New York, so of course he's like a legend there. I mean, John McClane ends up being a celebrity cop even by the second one. He's in this one. He's in Virginia. He's at Dulles Airport, and the cops there are like, "We've heard of you, John McClane. Don't think that just because you went Maverick over there at the whatever tower in California that you can suddenly do that here at Dulles Airport. We do things a little bit different." And of course, he does the exact same thing. But anyway, so that's 2 weeks ago. So that was just me and Joey. Joey's definitely planking on us. Joey, actually, you might notice Joey is not in the chat right now. Joey, I don't think this is information he would be, upset with me sharing. But Joey has actually been taking a writing class in his free time, and it's on Tuesday nights. It usually ends before 8. And I've been reading some of the stuff he's been writing. It's amazing, you guys. He's the type, he's becoming a true galaxy brain with the pen and paper, which I think is really cool. TJ says, "Hi, I made ramen burger." Oh, I hope it's ramen and not cannibal flesh that is put between two buns, because unless TJ has been Army Hammer the whole time, that would be quite a surprise. But it's okay. So that's the most recent, 2 podcast episodes ago. This is the one that came out yesterday, which is Wallace and Gromit, The Wrong Trousers, which is a podcast episode I recorded with my brother and my sister, and we talk about the old wrong trousers, dude, up there in, roughly Wigan, northern England, and it's a great stop-motion classic. This is one that I feel a little bit more responsible. If I was going to tell Scorsese that I was recommending film to somebody, I would tell him I've been letting people know to watch Wallace and Gromit. Because if you haven't seen it before, honestly, if you haven't seen it before, it's going to be hard to convince you to watch it, because it's like a claymation guy and his dog, and they're British, and the guy puts on the wrong pants? Okay. I'm not watching that. But if you've seen it in your childhood, which a lot of people have, it's super nostalgic, and it absolutely holds up. If anything, being older has made me realize how great Wallace and Gromit was. When I was a little kid, I was watching it just because it was, animation. I'm a kid. I'll watch anything. And not to say that I didn't enjoy it, but I did. But now that I'm older, I recognize it's great. My brother and sister and I spent some time reflecting on that and talking about how epic Wallace and Gromit is, so check that out. Of course, you can get Affable Chat on Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Of course, just like everybody else. So easy, so decentralized, so easy to get your podcasting stuff out there. So, who out there is still smashing Nintendo characters on Smash Brothers?